So we're driving through bumper-to-bumper traffic on I-15. It's a beautiful 89-degree afternoon in March in Las Vegas. And this is kind of part two of what we started yesterday, talking about how the 2021 Ford XLT Power Boost Hybrid handles heavy traffic. And so, you know, just like we saw yesterday, if you've gone a very short distance, either the Mpgs are going to be very high or very low, unrealistically so. And then after you go a little longer, they kind of stabilize and the number, you know, evens out. And so now at this point, we've only been in this traffic for about 2 minutes, gone a half a mile, 0.6 miles, of which 0.4 of that are electric. So yeah, if most of the miles are electric, then you can expect your Mpgs are going to be pretty high. But then as you continue, you know, the Mpgs kind of sort of stabilize. Got a pretty good view of the strip there, the stratosphere. You know, this is just the northern edge of it, actually. Downtown. And that new one that's been under construction for like the last 15 years almost. So anyway, again, you see, just like yesterday, the more of your driving that is electric, meaning with the engine off, whether that's coasting or whether that's regenerative braking or whether it's actually providing energy back to the vehicle, you know, in the form of acceleration by the motor, the more of that you can do, the better your Mpgs are going to be. So you see here, we're at 36. Although watch what happens when the engine comes on and we have to accelerate. That just drops right off. And so we've got a similar condition that we had before, where, you know, it's a combination of being completely stopped and sort of crawling forward at, you know, 5 to 10 miles an hour, and having to accelerate hard because the traffic is picked up in a hurry and you want to keep up with it, and then having to slow down suddenly. And the name of the game is to try to keep as much of an interval between you and the vehicle ahead of you without pissing everyone else off. Because the more of an opening you create, you know, the people behind you get angry, and you also open yourself up to having someone jump in front of you. And then you've either got to get on the brakes all of a sudden, or, you know, who knows what. So it kind of, you know, up to a point, yeah, you want to try to go as easy as you can on the gas and the brakes. See how much our Mpgs have fallen. Now they're at 26. But you also, you know, again, you want to go as easy as you can on them, but not so easy that people start cutting you off or the people behind you start getting irritated with you. So the traffic's actually flowing halfway decently this afternoon. It says we've still got another 2 minutes of delay. The other side is all kinds of backed up. Got the Trump Casino there. Got the Wynn and the Encore behind it. Yeah, traffic going the other way is really bad. It's not so bad on our end. And so now you see we're at the mythical EPA 24 Mpgs. But, you know, unfortunately, the longer you go, the more that number works down from 24 and winds up being something like 21 or 20. So we've been driving the car by ourselves up to this point. We will turn on lane keeping and let it do its thing. You see that indicator at the top shows how far of a following distance we have set. And then the one on the bottom shows a picture of the vehicle and a little blue halo around it indicating that we've got lane keeping. The smaller halo in front of it just indicates that it's doing adaptive cruise control and it's looking out for vehicles ahead of it so that it won't hit them. Looking at the Palazzo and the Venetian, Treasure Island, Mirage. Behind it you got the whatever the heck heck's that called? You know, the big Ferris wheel. Somebody trying to cut in on us because, again, the lane keeping system is probably following a little bit too far behind the vehicle ahead of us. No big deal. The high roller, that's what that Ferris wheel is called. Way back there. You got the Flamingo, you got Caesars, Bellagio. And I think what they call City Center, which took forever to build, but now it's up. I mean, it's been up for 8 years, 10 years almost. Nothing wrong with it, we just don't like it that much. We prefer the Venetian for the most part. Bellagio is nice though. Cosmopolitan, we think it's overrated. Look at our MPGs though, they're holding pretty steady. 23.8, back to 24. And so again, the more you are driving with the engine off, either coasting, which is what we're doing now, or doing a little bit of accelerating to the point where the engine doesn't quite come on, the more your MPGs will grow. But that should not be the goal, because the more you try to get your MPGs up, the more you're going to tick everybody else off and interfere with the flow of traffic. You got New York behind that thing. I guess that was a Tropicana over there, maybe. You got the Luxor, Mandalay Bay. Mandalay Bay is where they had that shooting, I guess 4 years ago at this point. The Luxor, which used to be very nice. Now it's much less so. The new stadium, which I guess they didn't get a chance to use last fall, did they? Well, to some extent they did. And that's basically the end of the strip. So look at our MPGs now. Now they're down to 23 again. So, you know, in this particular stretch of traffic, we've done okay. We've gone 5.4 miles, of which 1.6 are electric, which is, I don't know what that works out to. Probably a third, maybe a quarter, just under a quarter. And our speed is in the mid-60s. We're going to set it to, let's just say, 75. And so if you push the set up and down buttons, you know, once they adjust your speed up or down by 1 mile an hour. If you hold them down, they adjust it up and down by 5 miles an hour. No big deal, it works fine. And if you think you need to go a little bit faster, you just get on the throttle and it lets you take over. So look at that little green number. That's the setting of 75. Get onto the throttle and the green number goes white, which means it's not in effect anymore because you have overridden it. Even though you're not going that fast. Okay, get back off the throttle, becomes green again. That means cruise control is trying to do its thing. Although look at our speed, it's only 69. That's because it knows there's a car ahead of it, so it's gonna keep its distance. Traffic. MPGs in moderately heavy traffic, 22.2. Entirely respectable. And so actually there was a question, you know, one gentleman, very nice gentleman, wrote in about, you know, why do you have a bubble mirror when you've already got the towing mirrors? So the towing mirrors are an option that's actually not the easiest thing to get. We had to look all over the Midwest for the exact options we wanted, and the options we wanted were an XLT, because you don't need anything better than an XLT. Everything above an XLT, trim-wise, is a waste of money. You're just putting money in Ford's pocket, and they are happy to take your money. But we wanted an XLT Power Boost Hybrid 4-wheel drive with the high output power, Pro Power onboard system. The regular output of the Pro Power onboard is 2 kilowatts for the 5-liter V8 and the 3.5 and the 2.7 EcoBoost. You cannot get Pro Power on board with the diesel, which I'm not sure what they were thinking. It almost seems like they don't really care to sell the diesel. They're just making it because they feel like they had to, because, you know, Dodge and Chevy have a diesel in their light duty pickups. And it's really too bad, because the 3.0 Power Stroke, everyone who has one that we've heard from says very good things about it. It's a durable engine, it lasts very long, makes good enough horsepower. It's like, what, 250? You know, you're not going to win a drag race, but it's powerful enough to do what you need to do. 400 plus pounds of torque, that's usually all you need for whatever you're doing. But they don't offer the Pro Power on board with it for some damn reason, knowing, as they should, that people who buy the diesel are probably going to be doing a lot of towing, and probably towing campers or you know, fifth wheel type campers, you know, or whatever, bumper pull campers. Either way, the guy with a camper is going to want Pro Power on board more than almost anybody else. And who tows campers? People with diesels. So, I mean, you don't buy a diesel just to look good or to drag race. You buy it because you're going to be towing long distances. So that was an unfortunate choice on the part of Ford, but, you know, what's there to say? Anyway, if you want the lower output Pro Power on board, which is AC power, you're going to get the 5-liter naturally aspirated V8. You're going to get the 2.7 EcoBoost or the 3.5-liter EcoBoost. And then if you want the higher output Pro Power on board, which is the AC output, you can get the hybrid, the Power Boost Hybrid. And that will give you 120 volts of AC at a maximum draw of 20 amps for a maximum power of 2.4 kilowatts. Your power is just your amps, which is your current, times your volts. So 120 volts times 20 amps of current gets you 2.4 kilowatts of total power. And that's enough for, you know, a lot of things, but not for everything you want to do. And so if you want the high output Pro Power on board, which is AC power, you got to pay another $750 after you've already bought the hybrid. And that will get you up to 7.2 kilowatts. But you can only get the 7.2 kilowatts when you're plugged into the 240 AC outlet. You're still going to get 2.4 kilowatts of 120, which is regular household power, like the kind of plug you have in most rooms in a normal house. So the 7.2 Pro Power on board will not give you some kind of super higher output 120 plug. It'll just give you the same old 20 amp 120 volt outlets. But what it will also give you is a 240 volt outlet, also known as like a dryer outlet. And that will give you that will let you pull 30 amps off of it. And so the max power that you can get off the 240 outlet is 30 times 240, which is your amps times your volt. And that gives you 7.2 kilowatts or 7,200 watts. So we absolutely wanted that, the higher output Pro Power on board. We wanted the max tow package because we're going to be towing a lot with this truck. Not as much as we would with either one of our diesel pickup trucks, like our Dodge 3500 or the Chevy 3500. Because with those you can pull, you know, with the Dodge we can pull about 12 or 13,000 comfortably, at least on flat ground. With the Chevy we can max it out, and I think it's a max trailer of 19,000. And that truck doesn't even break a sweat when it's loaded to its absolute top capacity, up and down the mountains. But with a truck like this, the 1500 series, otherwise known as an F150, you know, the most you can comfortably tow with something like this is probably between 8 and 10,000. More like 8,000. And we will most likely end up winding up with a gooseneck hitch and a gooseneck trailer for the stability that gives you. So we can feel a lot of wind blowing and hear a lot of wind blowing. Our Mpgs are down to 19.5, and they're probably going to keep falling for a while because we're going, you know, highway speeds, upper 70s. Remember a few minutes ago we were at like 23 or 24. As soon as you get your speed up, you know, you run into the two problems that you hit at speed, which is much more wind resistance, and the hybrid system stops being able to really help you that much. Going past a place called Speed Vegas, where I guess you can rent a Ferrari or whatnot, put it out there on a racetrack and try not to get killed. We also wanted the 12-inch screen, which I think is an option on the XLT. I think it is not available on the XL. And it might be part of the option package, like the 302A or whatever it is. And we wanted a few more things. We wanted 360 Co-Pilot Assist 2.0. And we wanted these mirrors, the towing mirrors, which are much, much bigger. They're actually probably 2 or 3 times as big as the regular mirrors in terms of total size. And they extend outward, but they do not fold or extend automatically. So you're manually folding and manually telescoping them. And that's fine with us. That's no big deal. But you can adjust them normally, you know, with the same controls that any other vehicle with power mirrors has. The thing you can't do is adjust that bottom mirror. You can adjust the top one, but not the bottom one. And so people say, well, why do you need a bubble mirror? Okay, so the reason why is because when we're towing, we generally, you know, you extend the mirrors out, and then what we tend to do is we adjust those bottom mirrors way out so that they can see almost out to a 45-degree angle behind the vehicle. And that lets us get a better view of the wheels of our trailer, which helps us make tight turns with a little more confidence. So you don't have to, like, you know, do this kind of thing and bend your, you know, and duck and lean all the way forward just so you can see what's happening with your trailer wheels when you're going around a tighter turn. And so if you've got the bottom mirrors, you know, bent all the way out, adjusted all the way out at almost a 45-degree angle, well, then you can't really see your blind spot anymore with your bottom mirrors. So that's why we use the little bubble mirror that we put on the upper one, the more flat one. And that's the reason for that. And we started doing it a while ago when we started pulling our 48-foot enclosed trailer, and it's worked out well for us. So we're just going to keep on doing it. So anywhere there it is. Under 3 hours to go before we get to where we're going in Victorville, actually, this afternoon. Mpgs continuing to fall. Now we're in the 17s. And it's probably going to be all the way down in the 16s by the time we get done with the, what's called the high desert portion of Southern California. And then you come down that long, long stretch after you pass through like Barstow, Victorville, Apple Valley, that very long stretch, and then I-15 and 215 split off, you know, around, where is it, like Rancho Cucamonga, something like that. And at that point, your MPGs actually start to go back up. So for the trip all the way down to San Diego we're doing tonight, you know, by the end of the day, we'll probably be back up to 19. But you saw in traffic, it was mid-20s. Now that we've been going up a little bit, it's down a lot. And we're going to keep going up and down for the next couple hundred miles. And then we get into like the, you know, the LA basin or whatever they call it, Riverside area. And then it stabilizes and it starts picking back up again. Anyway, good talking with you all. Have a good afternoon.